Homage watches. Right, here's the can of worms, here's the can opener, let's get into it. So I was having a very good debate with one of my friends from Canada Watch Club recently on the topic of homage watches, and at the same time this week I saw the Watch Crunch video, again on the topic of homage watches. So as it's a very interesting debate that's been raging on for many years in the watch collecting community, and I'm sure will rage on for many more, I wanted to weigh in with some thoughts and perhaps an alternative perspective on homage watches. Now essentially, the debate on what is acceptable and what isn't is all based on a scale, and everyone seems to sit somewhere differently. On one side you've got the almost one-for-one copies of an existing watch design, just with a different brand logo on it. And on the other side you've got watches that take inspiration from different watches and create a kind of tribute to an era or a certain watch, but with very distinct and obvious changes. So everyone sits somewhere differently on this scale, and that's why it's such a hot topic of debate. For the sake of this video, I'm going to use the word clomage for a clone of a watch with a different brand logo. And I'm going to use the word homage to describe something that is taking inspiration but stands on its own two legs as something that in the end has some original design touches. So for the most part, I don't tend to buy clomage watches. It's a personal preference just because I do put some value into design, and I do think there is a romance in design, in expression, and I think there's something to admire about great designs in any product, including in watches. For me, the perfect kind of homage is something like this Islander JFK GMT. Obviously, the bezel is heavily inspired by a watch that you already know, and also the case as well is inspired by a different brand that you already know. But those two items combined, along with the rather unique cloud dial, make this a good homage. For me, it's a tribute to other watches, but it stands on its own two legs, and I really like this. So this is generally the sort of homage that I would aspire to buy. However, there are exceptions, and I believe that clomage watches, these ones that sit very close to an original design, perhaps just with a changed logo, are perfectly okay as well for other collectors, and I would never belittle someone or make them feel bad for buying such a thing, because I've bought them as well in the past, and I still will on certain occasions today. Let me give you an example. This Shroudland Flieger, yes I know, terrible name, is a clomage of an IWC, a very rare IWC. It's a very limited edition tourbillon watch that costs as much as a house. Now I realistically have almost zero chance of owning that IWC, and I wouldn't really want to spend that money on it anyway. However, to get this for, just over 100 US, for me I can enjoy the look of that watch at a fraction of the price, and I'm really grateful for that because I think it's a cool bit of design. So I think that's fair justification for buying and enjoying this particular watch. Carrying on with this theme, I think a lot of watch influencers, if I can say, are completely out of touch with an average salary and the working class in a lot of countries. I know people that really enjoy watches and enjoy the hobby, but they live paycheck to paycheck. They have mouths to feed, they've got mortgages to pay, and they don't see their salaries increasing anytime soon in the next 15 or 20 years to a point where they can go out and splash 4 or 5 grand and upwards on a Rolex or on a Tudor. Now, if somebody in that situation absolutely loves the look of a Tudor dive watch, and they know they're never going to buy the actual thing because there's more important things in life to them than their watch hobby, then I do not have a problem with them going out and buying a San Martin that looks almost identical but just has a different logo on it. And the common response is, oh well, why don't you buy an original watch for the same money? And that's fine, and that will work for some people, and some people will appreciate originality over and above anything else. But if somebody who doesn't earn necessarily a lot of money and has other bills and responsibilities in life just wants that look and just loves the look of that watch and has only got $180, $200 to spend, then who am I to say that they should go through their life and never enjoy that design? There's so many examples of this in other industries. I mean, the difference between a $30 pair of jeans and a $2,000 pair of jeans can be absolutely negligible in terms of look, but obviously when you've got the more expensive pair of jeans in hand, maybe they are much higher quality, they're much longer lasting, they feel a lot nicer, and that's what you're paying for. If you buy the actual watch, in my example of buying a Tudor versus San Martin, of course, you're not pretending to have a Tudor. If somebody asks you at the bar, oh, is that a Tudor on your wrist? Oh no, this is just a cheap San Martin. It's a similar kind of design, which I really like, but there's no way I could afford the Tudor, and that's fine. You're not hiding anything. You're not taking a sale from Tudor because it's not in your price range anyway. And deep down, you always know you don't have the real thing. It doesn't have the incredible mechanical prowess of the Tudor. It doesn't have the very fine fit and finishing, albeit it might be good for the price. And it isn't the real thing, and you live with that, and that's the trade-off in buying a watch like that. But coming back to my original point, I feel there's such a detachment between people who spend years and years and years of their life existing only in a price range where a Tudor is not that expensive and it's the sort of thing that you just buy and sell, no problem at all. And I think you become totally out of touch with the financial realities of a lot of watch collectors who don't have those high incomes and that spare expenditure. And I don't think it's right for anybody to lecture those people on what they should and shouldn't be buying. Disagree, by all means. Think it's gross, that's your opinion, that's fine. But don't tell other people what they should and shouldn't be buying, and don't make them feel bad for making those purchase decisions. That's really my strong opinion on it. And before we move on, of course, if you do want to save up for a few years and buy your Grail watch, and you can do that, and you can get it, and you can enjoy it, then that's fantastic as well. Like, there is no right or wrong path. We're all on different watch collecting journeys, and we all do things in different ways. And that's okay. I'm not saying that you shouldn't save up long term and save over a couple of years and buy that dream watch, and that it won't feel like such an incredible achievement and you won't absolutely love it, because I'm sure you will, and that will work for some and it won't work for others, and it's okay. But for me, it's having an awareness of different collectors' situations and different approaches to collecting. Another point which I think is underestimated is the fact that if something is worth so much money that it's your most valuable possession, you couldn't afford to replace it, and you don't want to scratch it, that can kind of spoil it a little bit. This is my Grail, which I was really grateful to purchase last year, before buying a house, I should add, and having mortgage payments. I probably couldn't buy another one anytime soon, that's for sure. But this is my Breitling Avenger 43, and I absolutely adore this watch. But I don't wear it nearly as much as I should, because honestly, I'm petrified about banging it up, scratching it, and destroying it just because I feel so strongly about it. And that puts me off wanting to have more watches at this kind of price point. Now, all power to you if you can have a watch that is worth a lot more than most of your other possessions and that you can't afford to replace, and you're happy to wear it, abuse it, and just enjoy it. And that's how it should be. And I know that's something that I should really deal with, because that Breitling is an absolute tank, and there's no doubt it could withstand the rigors of my daily life. But still, I struggle to get over that, and it's another consideration to have. And that's why I generally like to shop around 500 to 1,000 Canadian dollars and buy and sell in that price range, because it's a range where I'm comfortable to enjoy the watches and just not worry too much. And for every person, that's completely different. For some people, for a lot of people, spending more than $100 on a watch sounds kind of crazy. And I think it's really easy to lose sight of all of these considerations. The other point on the whole clage debate, and something that I have genuinely done myself, is buying a clage to see if you want to buy the real thing. Now, I think people who are a little bit snobby with watches say, oh, that's just an excuse. But let me tell you, I bought a cheap Monster off AliExpress, a clage, because the Monster is such a strange looking watch in terms of the case shape, the dimensions, and the way it wears. I didn't have any other comparison, and the Seiko isn't that cheap, and I couldn't get a great price on a used one, so I was going to be buying new. And I bought the AliExpress clage. I wore it for a few months, decided I liked it, and then I went and bought the Seiko Monster. So it's another time where I think these clage watches make sense. And if somebody had tried to belittle me, patronize me, or look down on me for wearing my AliExpress Monster, well, frankly, I would tell them to f*** off. You don't have to agree with the choice. You can have your own opinion, and absolutely you should. But again, I come back to it. Don't try and patronize, belittle, or lecture people just because they don't agree with your opinion. So the next point is that people often say clage watches take sales away from the actual brand. I don't think they do for the most part. Typically the price difference is ginormous, so if you're buying the homage, it's because you can't afford the real thing. Perhaps you don't see a world where you will afford the real thing, or perhaps like me with the Seiko Monster, you want to try a cheap version of something and see how it wears before you spend a considerable amount of money on the actual thing. I struggle to think of many homage watches in the price point of the actual watch that they're homaging or clomaging. And to be honest, if they do, then I think most collectors would buy the original, because there is a nice feeling of having the actual thing and having the original brand who came up with the original design, and then you do have that enjoyment of the design element. And of course, with all these clomage watches, there's never any credit given to design. I would never review one and give any credit for any design work when it's literally photocopied with a different brand logo. And are these watches disrespectful to the original brand? I don't think so. I mean, to say that they are paying tribute, I think is a bit lazy, because ultimately they are profiting off somebody else's design. But at the same time, it does happen in every kind of brand, in every product, in every part of our society. Look at SUVs, look at clothing, look at shoes. I mean, generally, I consider myself as somebody who follows laws. I don't agree with replicas, because replicas are trying to be something that they're not. You know, if somebody takes a replica watch in a bar, they might actually think it's the real thing, and I think that's quite shady. You're never going to make that mistake, even with a clomage, because the logo is always going to be different, the brand name is different. Same with clothing, same with caps, same with trainers, same with cars, they have different badges on, even though the designs can be remarkably similar. So that's my thoughts on the topic of homage and clomage watches. Personally, I don't tend to buy clomage watches, only in very rare circumstances and exceptions. But I have no issue with them existing, I have no issue with other people buying them. More than liking or disliking any particular watch, design, or brand, I hate people trying to be gatekeepers this hobby, trying to tell people what they should and shouldn't do, rather than just expressing opinions, politely disagreeing, and moving on with your life. Anyway, please do let me know in the comments what you think about homage watches, where you sit on this debate, not only what you would personally buy, but whether you feel you can justify a world where clomage watches do exist. I enjoy reading your comments, but this is a hot topic of debate typically in watch communities, so please keep the comments respectful and be kind to each other, because life is short and there's space for all of us to enjoy this hobby. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.